But yeah, it's definitely like now the pressure is 10 times what it was a decade ago and 20 times what it was 2 decades ago. So the pressure just gets bigger and higher, and the stage gets bigger. So it doesn't ever get less. I'm 47. I used to be the youngest one in the room. Used to be the only woman in the room. All of those, all those dynamics have changed. I'm now normally the oldest person in the room. There's lots of women in the rooms I go into now, which is fantastic. And people look to me now in a way of like, oh, well, it's like she's either the CEO or she's Fran Millar or whatever it is. I just didn't really give enough of a fuck about what other people thought. And then as I've got older, I do give a fuck about what people think. And of course I do. And I feel a sense of responsibility for the young women coming up behind me, that they can look to someone and be like, okay, I want to be like her one day. That's always the thing that I now carry with me, because I'm like, be that person. Be the person that you wanted to have in the room when you were younger.
My guest today is someone I've known for a decade and a half, and someone who I have been in awe of for that entire time. She is currently the CEO of the cycling clothing company Rapha. Before that, she was CEO of the fashion brand Belstaff, and before that, CEO of the Ineos Grenadiers cycling team, co-founder of Team Sky, the most successful cycling team in the modern era of the sport, winning 7 Tours de France out of 8 editions. She is an incredible powerhouse of a woman, Fran Millar. Fran, welcome.
Hi, Ola. What an intro. I sound well good.
But it's true, though. It's true. And I've told you all of this before anyway. I've told you that I'm in awe of you. And I was actually speaking to Belle, who's doing my hair and makeup this morning, a dear friend of mine. And I was saying that even though you're the person I know best out of these conversations that I'm having, this is the one I was the most nervous about, because I feel like, I don't know, you're so badass. You're so amazing at what you do. And I've always wanted to be like approved of.
Wow.
I've never admitted that bit, but it's true.
Okay.
I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
Anyway, before we get into the conversation, we are starting these conversations by asking dear friends of our guests, so sister from another mister, questions that will reveal something about our guest that friends would know. So trying to get a better idea of who you are. And I would like you to guess what the answers might be. So you gave me Lizzie's contact details, who you've talked about to me over the years an awful lot. So I was delighted to get her number. I was like, can I just slip into our friendship? No, I'll back off. Anyway, so I asked Lizzie, first of all, what do you love most about Fran? What do you think she might have said?
That's a tricky one. Something about how engaged I am with like her kids and our like friendship, we're really engaged with each other's lives, and I think I always show up. I make sure I always show up. So I think she probably loves that about
the
me.
length of the friendship, the depth of the friendship. She said, I absolutely love that she's been my best friend for 30 years. We've really been through so much together and have so many shared memories and experiences. I think the depth and length of our friendship is quite rare and very special. Although I think if you ask Frances what I answer to this question, she will probably say that I love how she loves eating cheese and drinking wine as much as I do.
True.
So that's close. My next question to her was, and I didn't know this about you.
Oh, God.
What is her most ridiculous habit?
Oh,
you know the answer, do you? By the way, this can be edited out if you want.
No. I'm guessing that she's going to... Well, it'd be one of two things.
Yeah.
One will be that if I go and stay in a hotel and I don't like it, instinctively she knows that I don't like it, and I end up moving and going somewhere else. And we've done it on like 6 different holidays. And she's always like, "Are we going?" Or is it the fact that I suck my thumb?
Yes. Sucking your thumb.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it?
So, talk to me.
So embarrassing. I've done it my whole life.
Yeah. I would hope you've done it your whole life. It'd be a weird thing to pick up an adult.
I started at 37. Found it, was like, wow, what's this? No, so yeah, I don't know why I haven't been able to give it up. Like, I genuinely don't. I've done
that.
I know, and it's like you say you love it. It's one of those things that like I do it when I'm very tired.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Or
like insanely comfortable, like if I'm like on a sofa and snuggled up.
Yeah.
But what that means is I can, or actually I do it sometimes when I'm really concentrating as well. So I have found myself like
in a boardroom.
Yeah, or asleep on a train, and I'll wake up and I'll like come round and I'll be like, I'm like a fully grown adult woman on a train with my thumb in my mouth. Awful. Or like if I'm sat thinking about something somewhere, it'll like sneak its way in. And then I'll look around and be like, oh God, there's people here.
Wow. Do you know, I think that's amazing though. You've been you're now a serial CEO, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that's a lovely humanizing element to you though, because, you know,
Sure.
it's we'll go with that.
I'll take it.
So this one might not be a surprise. I asked Lizzie what Fran should give up. What did she say?
What I should give up?
Yeah.
I don't know whether she would think I have to give up sucking my thumb. If she does, did she say give up sucking your thumb? That dick.
Oh. Friendship with Lizzie is what you should give up. What were you going to say?
I would have thought she'd have said something about my obsession with my weight. Like I'm always worrying about like my weight. I'm always like, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. I'm always thinking about weight. Like it's a total obsession.
Really surprises me.
Yeah, it's like it's an obsession in my head all the time. If I could get back all the time in my life that I've spent thinking about what I eat and how much I weigh, I'd probably gain years back. Like genuinely.
So, do you think that's being a woman, or do you think it's having grown up around professional cycling?
Not professional cycling. I think it's probably growing up around the kind of F-plan generation that our mums were all in, you know, that kind of like cabbage soup diets and fibre diets and, you know, calisthenics and all the crazy
Rosemary
stuff
Conley
all the stuff that the 80s brought about. I think when you grow up in that generation, it was so, I'm sure it's 10 times worse now, but it's certainly, I felt very aware of my weight from the minute I hit puberty. It was like it, and it, like I say, it's been a borderline obsession for most of my life. Yeah.
Do you have a weight that would be good enough?
Oh yeah, and the stupid thing is, like any time in my life, if you asked me what I weighed, I could tell you to the pound. Yeah, like it's weird. It's fully weird. I'm fully aware of how weird it is.
But it's not weird, and my shock isn't to convey that I think it's weird at all. I suffered disordered eating in my early 20s, and I went through days where barely a Haribo crocodile would cross my lips, and that was. I remember being really proud of myself once because I made it all the way to dinner without eating a single thing, and I didn't touch the bread basket, and I had one pancake for dinner, which is why this current trend of ultra skinniness really breaks my heart, because I thought we'd moved on from it, but I guess the tyranny of fashion is such that we need something to mark people out as being elitist. But it's more that I'm surprised because I didn't know it. I didn't know it, but I guess this is it. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah, and do you know what the funny thing about it for me is? It's so linked for me to my own view of myself. Like it's not necessarily the fashion thing or anything else. My thing's around discipline. Like there's a great quote that I think is Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is around like the most valuable thing you can have in life is like a well-built body, because you can't buy it. You can't, no matter how much money you've got, you can't go out and get someone to give it to you. You have to earn it, all that sort of stuff. And that chimes with me so hard. But I think that goes to quite an unhealthy place with me around my weight, because it's like the minute I put a bit of weight on, I'm like, I look ill-disciplined. I look like I've not got shit under control. I look like I'm not. So it's a really, like it's driven from quite a deep place of like self-discipline.
Do you think your worth is tied up to your sense of discipline in any way?
100%. Yeah, 100%. That I have to be very routine, very structured, the more disciplined I am, the more I feel like, okay, I've got this under control. Yeah.
Which obviously makes you incredible at what you do.
Yeah, but it means I'm very hard on myself. Yeah, very, very hard on myself.
Even now?
Oh, yeah. More so now, because there's more at stake now, right? Like, I think the older I get and the more, like that introduction, like it's amazing and it's so lovely to hear it. And I think you get to do things like this in life at the right time. Like you go through moments of insecurity and then you come to something else and you're like, oh no, actually, I am quite good at what I do. But yeah, it's definitely like now the pressure is 10 times what it was a decade ago and 20 times what it was 2 decades ago. So the pressure just gets bigger and higher and the stage gets bigger. So it doesn't ever get less.
I'm going to come back to that because there's a few things in there that I want to unpack because I find it really fascinating. But there was one more question that I asked Lizzie, which is, what fills your cup? What do you
being
think
around my people.
Yeah, I love how easily you answered that, Fran.
Yeah.
You said spending quality time with her people, walking her dogs in beautiful places, getting headspace on her bike, good food and wine, early nights and plenty of sleep.
Discipline.
What I find really interesting is whenever you said a moment ago, listening to that introduction made you think, oh yeah, reminded you, I am really good at what I do, but there's the pressure, ... But for me, what is most impressive about you, Fran, is not what you've achieved. It's how you've achieved it. It's the fact that, because like I said, I've known you for 16 years now. I saw you whenever you were at Team Sky, founding member of the team, going all the way through that organization to the very, very top, and then moving from that to Belstaff, moving from that to Rapha. But what I find most fascinating about you is the way that you carry yourself through the world. And I feel like you have never tried to present yourself as a finished product. And I really love that about you, that you're very visibly learning things as you go, that takes such a vulnerability that's really hard to see in business. And I remember sitting down actually at lunch once with you in Mallorca on a training camp, Team Sky. I'm sure it was still Sky, not Ineos yet. And you were sharing podcast and reading advice with me. And everything I see about you, I've seen your different podcasts as well, and you talk about the different books that you've read. You're really open about all the learning that you're still doing. I find there's such a grace and a power in that that's really rare. And I don't know if you realise that.
I suppose I don't. I know I'm a lifelong learner, and I know it's unusual to be as ferocious a learner as I am. And the how I do things has become more and more conscious. I think it was I think authentic leadership, whatever you want to call it, like, being your true self, all of that stuff. I'm very lucky in that always came very naturally to me. I didn't know how to filter. And that was when I was younger, that was it held me back, because I think lots of people around me were like, Jesus Christ, this girl's loose, because it was, I never tempered my language. I never moderated my behavior. And so it was like, I learned my trade doing it the only way I knew how to do it. And so as I've got older and as I've progressed through my career, I've been able to hone and fine tune. But the only way to hone and fine tune is to read and to learn and to, be curious and to look at what other people do and take little nuggets. And it's been probably this last 3 years of my career has been the first time that I'm like, oh, I'm evolving now into a different phase of my life where I'm very aware of how I show up and what I show up as, and I'm more conscious than ever of like the role that I have to play and the person I need to be, and trying to balance that all the time with like, don't become inauthentic, don't stop being you, like you have to still be you. So that's like it's a real balance now to try and get it, to try and make sure it still stays completely normal and natural and organic. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But I feel like in a way you're doing yourself a disservice, really, because even back, what are we talking about with Team Sky? That was 10 years ago, maybe. And you were head of winning behaviours, which is a very Sky title, right? But what that meant really is that you were the one who had to give a shit about people within that team.
Yeah.
And you had to look at the behaviours of people within a team and make sure that it all worked. Now, yeah, it's called winning because it's a sports team. It's an elite sports team. But really what it meant was trying to get the best out of people and allow them to bring their best version to the job.
Yep.
So I feel like for you to say that it's something you've become aware of in the last 3 years more than ever, I feel like that's your authentic self, though.
Sorry, what I mean by more aware of is that it's like whereas I always was just doing what came naturally, what I've become aware of now is that I have doing what comes naturally is great, but I also have I've learned so much in the time that I've got it that it's like, I'm not winging it anymore.
Okay.
That's probably what I mean. Like, I'm not winging it. It's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm trying to do. I'm very conscious of what I'm going into. And the winging it has become less, which means that just by default, I think a lot more about the environments I'm in and the people I'm around and to the extent of like, I'm 47. I used to be the youngest one in the room, used to be the only woman in the room. All of those, all those dynamics have changed. I'm now normally the oldest person in the room. There's lots of women in the rooms I go into now, which is fantastic. And people look to me now in a way of like, oh, well, it's like she's either the CEO or she's Fran Millar or whatever it is. So it's a recalibration of that authentic self piece where it's like, I'm very aware now that what I bring into a room, I have to make sure that I'm aware of it in a way I never used to be. And I think that comes with a baggage that I didn't used to have. And that balance of like, how do you make sure you're still yourself? You're not compromising anything, but that you're bringing all those lessons and all those learnings and being more considered and thinking more about how the impact you're having on people and the impact you're having on a room or the impact you're having on a business, it's like I'm far more considered about it because I now have way more awareness of what's going on. But I still learn all the time.
What I love about that so much is that we still live in a culture whereby, for women in particular, youth is fetishized, and we are taught that growing older is about becoming more invisible and less relevant and losing our power. Exactly, though, because you could not have been this version of you in your 20s, in your 30s. This is when you're able to sit, it's such an American phrase, but whatever, sitting in your power and holding that space with such strength and confidence and badassery is not something that you can ever have in your early life as a woman.
No, but what you can have in your early life, or what I had, was like an unbelievably naive confidence, right? And that's
in
everything. In everything. I was just like, fuck it. What's the worst that can happen? And I don't know where that came from or why I was like it. I think it's part nurture, part nature. And my mum always says like the difference between David and I was that I just came out chatty and I came out confident. And I'd wander, David in his books refers to me as like the family Google, because I just wander off and speak to people and find out what was going on. So I just came out confident. And I think so my naivety and my confidence as a kid and as a young woman in industry or in the business world was very much like, I just didn't really give enough of a fuck about what other people thought. And then as I've got older, I do give a fuck about what people think. And of course I do. And I feel a sense of responsibility for the young women coming up behind me that they can look to someone and be like, okay, I want to be like her one day. That's always the thing that I now carry with me, because I'm like, be that person. Be the person that you wanted to have in the room when you were younger. So I definitely wouldn't be the person I am if I hadn't had age on my side. But equally, my 25, 30-year-old self, I look back on her and I'm like, fair play, she was brilliant. What a bad, I was, it's like lunacy when I look back on her, like how confident, how I was just like, some of the rooms I look back on I was in, or the environments I was in, or the people I was around. Yeah, I mean, fair play.
I wonder sometimes as well whether that's the advantage of being the only woman in the room, because you don't have to play by anybody else's rules or expectation in a way. You could just be you, rather than she's like that because she's a woman. It's no, she's like that because she's Fran.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes a freedom to that.
Totally. 100%. There was a lot of like, it was like Fran.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's just Fran being Fran. Yeah. Good and bad.
I wonder as well, because when you're talking about being the woman that you wished you'd had in the room, like I feel through my career, I've never had a woman in front of me reaching that ladder down and helping me up. And that's just because of the way the sports broadcasting industry is. And also because we were all always taught to compete against each other. And I just didn't ever want to buy into that anyway. And I find myself feeling so responsible for leaving that ladder down and for helping women to come through. And I wonder, like, in a way that men don't. Men don't feel like they've got to make sure that other young men come through in a healthier state than they did. But I guess that's sometimes the advantage as well of being a woman, is that you are creating an environment that you didn't get to enjoy, but you're conscious of it. So where it could have been a disadvantage for you, you're making it an advantage because it makes you a better leader, really.
Yeah. And also, like, we only got the right to vote 100 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you could only get your own mortgage in the late 70s, early 80s. You don't sign for your own mortgage as a woman. So it's like the progress that we've made as women, within society is so dramatic and it's been so rapid that it's like the roles that we're playing are evolving so fast all the time. And I think that even deciding not to have a kid, like that put me in a very different position to most of my peers. I just didn't want to do it. So it's like, but now I meet loads of young women who don't want to have kids and who have chosen not to have kids, and it's become a normal part of a conversation. It's not that kind of shameful thing that people speak about, like, oh, I don't want to. I mean, I don't think I ever wanted to have kids, and be like, wait till you meet the right man.
Yeah,
all that bullshit.
You'll know when the time is right.
That seems to have gone. Well, certainly in the decade that I've been around, it seems to have quietened down. That kind of like, I think women are getting the opportunity to make the choices they want to make and live the lives they want to live without the same level of scrutiny and judgment that there used to be. But maybe it's just because I've got more senior and people are more scared of me.
Yeah.
We're not going to say that in front of her.
Yeah, I think that sometimes when I think the world has changed, I think, no, I've just got more authority now. I can say whatever I like. Because I'm annoyed at myself really listening to you, because I wanted to ask you about your decision to not have children. But if there's a mother sitting in front of me right now, I'm not asking them why they decided to have kids.
Yeah.
So Do you get that question a lot? I guess is another way of maybe asking the same question. But do people question your decision to not have children? Or is it not accepted because you've gone through it?
I think when I do podcasts like this, like when I did the Diary of a CEO, it came up. I don't think it's a bad or a good thing. I don't think it's a problem. Like if people ask the question, because I think it is on any outlier. I think is, and I think I've been quite vocal about it through the course of interviews and everything else. So it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't see it as like, well, you wouldn't ask a man this question. Because no, you wouldn't ask a man this question, but there's lots of questions you wouldn't ask men, and there aren't many female CEOs, and you blah blah blah. So that doesn't bother me. In terms of the decision not to have them, it was, from my perspective, it was like, I think the greatest gift that you can get from your own mum is a recognition of like, do I want to make that choice in my own life? And it's like, for me, it's a reflection of how much my mum loved me, because I sort of think, I look at it and I'm like, that just looks like an anxiety-inducing hellhole. So no thanks.
If you're enjoying this conversation, then I really want you to know that it's all thanks to Sisterly, an amazing supplement for women that I take every single day. At Sisterly, we're all about supporting female health, not just with great nutrition, but with 360 wellness, which is why this podcast is all about releasing the pressure to keep up and giving us a moment of connection. That is what your sisterly fix is all about. Okay, now you're in the know. Let's get back to the chat. Can I ask about the role of your mum in your life then, and the influence that she's had? Avril Miller is a legend in her own lifetime. I love that woman, and anybody who meets her loves her. And before we started recording, you were saying, yeah, my mum wrote a book. I'm like, yeah, no, she sent me an early edition of it, and I absolutely love it. Having someone like her, and I should explain for anyone who obviously doesn't know who your mum is and what she stands for, which is most people. But her book is so of the moment, and it's very much about speaking to you, really, I guess, and her when she was your age, about learning to not give a fuck and to stop being so apologetic about who we are and how we are and how life is framed as a woman. And I find it so refreshing to read. To have her as your mother and as a role model must have been really formative, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because it's like the 74-year-old woman writing the book.
Yeah.
The 40 and 50-year-old shit show that she writes about was the person who brought me up. Do you know what I mean? So
I
yeah,
hadn't thought of that.
Great. Yeah, great that she's got there. But no, I mean, yes, of course it's formative. You know, she's always, the lifelong learning for sure comes from my mum. The desire to you know, achieve and push, and you know, all of those things comes from her. She's an amazing human being, and you know, she went to Glasgow University and studied engineering in the 70s when the women weren't doing that. You know, she set up her own business in the 80s, and you know, went through yuppie flu and all that kind of thing. So she's phenomenal, and formative, and damaged, and gone through a lot of pain, and had a lot of things go wrong for her in her life, and some of them self-inflicted, some of them inflicted by others, some of them just how life works. And I think what's the most impressive about Mum is that she's never given up. She's never been like, I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to cash out. She's always been like, I'm going to pick myself back up and I'm going to go again. And that is incredibly, and to see somebody in their 70s living the best version of themselves and their lives that they've ever done is inspirational. Like that's very like, wow. If you'd have asked me when I was basically looking after my mum in my teenage years, when she was in her mid 40s, is this going to be somebody who's blazing a trail in their 70s? I don't think I would have thought that she would. And it's amazing to see. It's an incredible testament to her own resilience. And I think that in and of itself is probably why I'm the way I am, because the resilience is either nature or nurture, whichever it is. She gave me both in spades.
This might be too personal a question, and let me know if it is, but when you're talking about having to look after your mum essentially in her 40s, did that play into not wanting to have children in any way?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah, I think the whole combination of like, I think any young person has to grow up very fast for whatever set of circumstances. I think you make a decision. You either become completely wedded to responsibility, which is like, I'm the responsible one, I do the responsible thing, I like having responsibility, or you recognize I've had so much responsibility and too young that I don't want that responsibility anymore. And I was very much the latter. I was like, I had to grow up way too fast. I had to look after my mum in a situation that she didn't choose. It wasn't her doing. You know, she was ill, and my dad and her had got divorced. It was a really messy 1980s divorce, like shit show. And my brother went to live in Hong Kong, so I was on my own with her. So it was pretty intense. And then David, you know, my brother is, you know, not the easiest character, and was going through his own tough times that subsequently has written books about, and, you know, people have talked about, and he's done a documentary about. But I had these two people in my life who needed a huge amount of care and responsibility and looking after.
And you should have been the baby.
Yeah, and checking in on, and fucking, you didn't hear from them, you'd worry and pick the phone up when I was like 18, 19, like, well, from the age of 11, 12 with my mum, all the way through to really 4 years ago with my brother. And it's like, and that for sure, that plays into, I was like, I just don't want to have to do this. I was single for 20 years, and it was like, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved just having my dogs and my house and my own shit and my job. I didn't want, and I still had David in my sort of peripheral vision all the time, was David and his welfare, and is he okay? And I think inevitably in my peripheral vision is also my mum, you know, because she's fantastic now, of course she is, but she's only been fantastic for 10 to 15 years of the 47 years that she's been my mum. So it was definitely a contributory factor to not wanting to have it. I just didn't want any extra responsibility. Just didn't want it.
And yet you took all of that on willfully in your professional situation.
Yeah, I know, the irony.
You know,
I know.
There's no job with more responsibility than CEO.
And well, also there's no job with more responsibility than 30 young bike riders coming into an environment.
Yeah.
And for sure, that became the displacement. Like,
yeah, because you were the mother figure, really.
Totally,
yeah.
like mother, totally. And I used to kind of resent it when people were like, oh, like mother hen type stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I look back on it and I'm like, yeah. And to this day, there are bike riders who I will still check in on and still hear from and still be like, you okay? How's everything going? You know, you keeping your head above water. And that is just, I think it's so inbuilt in who I am. That, and I think there's probably, well, I know that there's lots of psychological studies around kids who take on too much responsibility, and then how they then become, what they then become as adults is somebody who tends to take on responsibility that isn't theirs to carry. I am definitely that person, without a shadow of a doubt.
So do you let loose? Do you let go of control?
Not really. No.
Have you ever? I don't think I've ever witnessed that, though. Like, I used to be a mess, as you have seen.
No comment.
I was, though.
You were really fun, though.
Was it not?
I mean, it was fun times.
I like to think
until it wasn't anymore.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was always professional.
Yeah,
I think. But my professionalism was hiding a world of, like, darkness. I drank too much. I had a lot of demons that were just self-inflicted, really. But I've never... So we've been in a lot of situations, really, where I've seen everybody let loose. I've been at parties in Milan with you and the team, with, like, an entire team, a squad of young male cyclists just going mental.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen you out of control.
No, there will be very few people in the world who could say they've seen me properly drunk or out of control. Yeah, it's not something I do. Certainly not something I do in a professional environment, and not something I would do unless I felt very. So Lizzie, for example, would. She has seen me probably pretty loose.
Yeah.
But even then, I keep a lid on it. Not
why?
Lid on it is probably the wrong word. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know whether I need that release. It's not something that I aspire to, and I don't take a huge amount. When I see people who are shit faced or out of control, it makes me scared.
Yeah,
it brings in
I
me
get that
fear.
now. Yeah,
and it's like the fear. And I think because my brother's an addict, so having my dad is an addict, and my dad is not. My dad doesn't talk to me, and my dad doesn't would never say that he is an alcoholic, but he's an alcoholic. And David is an alcoholic and has been public about it. And I think when you come from that and you see what that is, getting loose in that way where it's completely out of control, all that speaks to for someone like me is something bad is going to happen. Somebody's going to be responsible for cleaning up the bad, and it's probably going to end up being me. So it freaks me out. And I remember when I was younger, my mum used to say that about drunk people, that she used to find them scary. And I used to be like, why? And then as I've got older, I'm like, oh, it's because it is scary because they're out of control and they don't know what's doing. And someone's going to have to pick the pieces up here. And so I think there's a lot of that in it. I also I don't know, I just don't, I'd love to be one of those people who could just, dance like a crazy person and like,
Would you know? Would you want to be? Because why would you not if you wanted to be that person?
I think because it speaks to being too in control, right? It speaks to maybe there's too much control for me, but control gives me a sense of satisfaction, and it gives me a sense of peace, and I'm kind of okay with that,
So does that go the other way? And we're talking about you take your sisterly every morning religiously. Absolutely love that you are like lining up the vitamins. You will. I'm going to guess that you never default on that, do you? Do you know?
No, I mean, I have like routines, but not like that kind of bro science routines.
Yeah.
Like I just have fallen into certain things that I know work for me. Like making my food for the next day the night before, making sure it's in the fridge, lining up my vitamins in the morning. I'll even like to the point where I'll fill the water things when I come down. It's just powders in, shake. So all of those sorts of things I don't really tend to deviate from. No, I will go through periods where I fall off the wagon of all of that. So it's like, and as soon as, I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, it's like, what I've realised in my life is that I have built a system that I keep layering on more things. And the system that I'm in at the moment, which is I've got a partner for the first time. He has a 7-year-old daughter. I have a big job. I have a big commute for the first time. It's a job the job I'm in is very, very challenging. I'm trying to maintain my fitness. I'm in my late 40s, so I have to do resistance training and cardio.
Yeah.
And it's like the system that I built for myself, there's no tolerance. Like there's no like, oh, I've got a bit of give here and there. It's like if I give anywhere, the whole thing kind of not falls down, but I start to like, the balance all comes out of it. So I'm sort of recognizing for this period of my life that, and I feel when I'm in balance, when I'm managing all of those variables well, I feel like, okay, I can do this. But the minute one of those variables starts to come out of line, I'm like, it starts to spin me, and then I spiral. So I find I'm better if I can just be like, right, just stick to the plan. This is making me sound like a lunatic.
No, because what I was going to say is what I really like about that is that you've said, I recognise for this period in my life, for this phase in my life.
It's a season.
That I think is the key, because most of us, I think, get stuck in, oh God, I'm going to have to do this forever then. No. If I've got a discipline habit, oh, what if I break it? Oh, that's it, broken forever. There's no point.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing it as being, like, for example, when I stopped drinking, I never once said to myself, I'm stopping drinking forever because it's too big. I always just said, I'm stopping drinking for now.
Yeah.
And then I'll get to the next phase in life and make another decision. Yeah. Or I'll make a decision every minute or every week, whatever it might be. But seeing our lives as being phases is really powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's why earlier on when we were talking, and I was saying like I really recognise that at this period of my career, I'm having to be a slightly different person to what I was before, because it's like the seasons of your, and I think it's like goal setting and all that sort of stuff. Like we're very good as people at setting monthly goals or annual goals, and we massively overestimate what we can do in a year, and we massively underestimate what we can do in a decade. And it's like, if you look back at what you've achieved in the last decade, mental, right? Mental. But then you'll also think to yourself, oh, in this year, I'm going to lose 3 stone. I'm going to learn French. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it's like, you can't do it in a year. Yeah. But if you say to yourself, in the next 10 years, I want to be able to do the following things.
But staying committed for 10 years is
but then you break it down, right? And it's the idea of like, in 10 years time, I'd like to be in a stable relationship, right? It doesn't have to be like, I want to be 7 stone and able to bench press my own body weight. It's like ambitious life goals about your own self, like your own sense of self and satisfaction. I've recalibrated my life around where do I want to be, and like who do I want to be, as opposed to I want to be 10 stone. I want to be, in a year's time, I want to be able to, I literally have a list of goals that I wrote in 2014 with Trisha Thompson from Sky.
Stop.
Oh, I did it as a PowerPoint presentation. I flew to Abu Dhabi. Yeah, do you remember how Jeremy Darroch always used to have VOGs?
Yes.
So like vision, objectives, goals, strategy.
Yes.
We created VOGs for ourselves.
Stop.
And I flew to Abu Dhabi and I presented her my VOG, and we had them as a 5-year plan. This makes us sound like lunatics. We presented them to each other. Then we held each other to account. You go back on mine. I literally was like, I'm going to be able to speak Spanish in a year. This is in the 1 year.
In a year. Do you speak Spanish? Habla español.
No. Not a little bit. Dos cervezas, por favor. I'm going to also be able to speak French, interestingly. I was going to do 2 languages. Can't speak one language, but I was going to learn 2. I had like and I had like it all separated out into different categories of my life. And I look back at it and I was like, the lunacy of it. But equally, it's that stuff that keeps me driven and keeps me moving on. So,
yeah. I think this is the value of goal setting, is not necessarily to get to the goal, but it is the discipline that it requires to get there. And it will teach you something along the way. And wherever you get to next will be more intentional than where you started off.
Yeah, totally.
I know how important friends are to you. And I'm wondering what friends come to you for. What kind of advice do friends look for in Fran Millar?
Oh, I mean, different friends come for different things, right? So Lizzie doesn't really come to me for anything. God love her.
Cheese and wine.
Yeah, cheese and wine. And just like we are in commune with each other, Lizzie and I. Do you know what I mean? Like we are coexistent in our lives. So I remember actually another friend of mine who'd known me for a really long time. Lizzie hadn't seen me with Lizzie. And Lizzie came up and was staying for the weekend. This other friend was there as well. And at the end of the weekend, the friend said to me, "I've never seen you like that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I didn't think I was any different.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, you are so relaxed in her presence. I've never experienced you that relaxed.
That's gorgeous.
Weird. Anyway, Lizzie doesn't come to me for anything. And then lots of people come to me for like, I'll have like friends who come for work stuff, which has become really nice. Like, I feel like I'm able to offer mentoring-y type advice now in a way that I just never would have done when I was younger. I mean, that's literally it, probably. Mentory work stuff, I think my friends come to me for. And I think I am the kind of friend that anyone knows. If I've got like, my friends are like 5 or 6 people. It's a very small group. You know the Dunbar list?
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in the Dunbar list. Yeah. So I have like 5, 10 and 15. And that 15, I think, would know that hell or high water, if they rang me, I would be there in a New York second. So that's, and I think they all know that. Therefore, they don't come to me for very much. When they come, it will be for big stuff.
Do you know what I love about you as well? Is I feel like you're someone who, you know what you stand for. You wear yourself on your sleeve, if that makes sense. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I want anybody listening or watching to have an idea of just what you are like as a person, because you have been in the public eye, really, certainly in our sport of cycling, for such a long time. And you're in a really prominent role right now. And Rapha is I mean, it's a legacy brand really now. It's a brand that people have a lot of love for. People who haven't bought into it might feel a certain resentment for it. And I feel like I just want people to understand what you're like, because there was it last year, and I was going to LA for I just decided to go there and bring I teach breath work and meditation, and it's something that is my passion away from television. And I was trying to find places to go to in LA to host workshops. And I thought, oh my God, Fran's just become CEO of Rapha, and they've got a clubhouse in LA. I'll just ask Fran. And within like 5 minutes, you'd replied. And I was embarrassed to ask, because I thought, she is a CEO. She has multiple businesses around the world that she's trying to look after. And you got back to me straight away. Absolutely. Here's my guy in LA. Come along, come to the clubhouse. And not only that, you were in LA at the same time. This is making me sound like a real bowler. I've never been to LA before or since. But you were in LA at the same time. You're like, come to the sailing with me. I'm going to take you out for the day. We went out for the day for what was one of the best days of my life, by the way. Yeah. Oh, it was so cool. I was like, this is the life I was made for.
Why are we in cycling? Why are we not in sailing?
But that's the kind of person that you are. And I find that really wonderful. I think that you are an incredible person. And I've got to say, one of the times that I was most proud is when, you probably won't remember this, but whenever you were you were still at Ineos and you've been offered the job at Belstaff. And I remember you messaging me and saying, can I pick your brains quickly? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Call me whenever. You called me and asked me what I thought, whether you should move. And I was like, Fran Millar wants my... And I love that you were canvassing opinion about something when you were so accomplished and successful already, but never losing that, again, the curiosity and the learning from other people and taking on board what other people think and then making your own mind up anyway. And I think that speaks volumes about you, to be perfectly honest.
Thanks, Ola.
I think you're amazing.
Thanks.
We've run out of time, and I just want to ask you one last question, which is, with all of your vitamins and your strength work and your cardio, I'm going to assume you're going to make it 20 years beyond where your mother is now. So when you're sitting in that rocking chair, finally looking back in your life, what will you be most proud of?
That's interesting. That's one of the questions Steve Peters asks when you're trying to establish your values. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So he does a whole thing around the stone of life. And part of it is when you're in your like 80s or 90s, you're on your deathbed and a young person who you love comes to talk to you and asks you advice about how you should live your life. And he's like, when you have the true answer to that, you know where your values sit.
Wow.
And
Dr. Steve Peters, the psychiatrist, of course. Yeah.
And for years, I used to be like, I know exactly what I'd say, Steve. I'd be like, you've got to work as hard as possible. You've got to go at it, like give it your best shot. Like, and he was like, no, you won't. Like, it's not what you will say. And I was like, yeah, will, for years.
And now?
And now the thing I'd probably be most proud of as opposed to the advice I give. I would be most proud of, the how as opposed to the what. Yeah, I think that was a nice way to introduce it. I'm proud of how I go about my life, and I'm proud of how I've lived my life so far, and I don't think that's going to change because it's so intrinsically aligned to my values. Mm-hmm. So I think I'd like to think that I'll retain that, and my how will always be the thing that I'll be proud of.
I love it, Fran. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Thanks for having me.
So much for taking time out of your ridiculously busy life. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, Fran, I'm welling out. That was incredible. Incredible.